Coming to you from the M&M Exterior Studio in Knoxville, Virginia, this is Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. She talks to people so you don't have to. For now.
Welcome back to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. I'm here with the awesome Gretchen Kelsey. Thank you for coming, Gretchen.
Hi, how are you? I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited. We have so many things we can talk about. We were just chatting.
So many.
Like many people in my life, I love Gretchen and I met also through a women's networking group, and we kept wanting to get together. We finally did. And then I think we also, much like Jacqueline, recorded our conversation. And that's when I was working on the podcast. And I'm like, we need to do a podcast.
Yes.
So
and
here we are.
And I feel like, Sam, you just have like a light about you. That's just like, it's like, I'm like a moth to your light. And I was like, I just want to get together with Sam and just talk to her and everything. Like I was like,
like a moth to a flame, but hopefully I will not burn you with the fire.
No, like in a pretty way.
A beautiful way. Well, let's see. So Gretchen, why don't you tell everyone just like a little bit about you, and then we'll kind of jump into kind of the stuff you've been brainstorming about, I've been brainstorming about. So.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Gretchen Kelsey, and I am the home business whisperer, but okay, so that's my business that I'm working on. And it's been like, I started it, and then I started a new part-time job, and then I dove back into it with managing my job and everything. And then we discovered we were going to move. And so now, anyway, so hopefully by the time you hear this, I'll be really back into it. But this is my baby, and it's gonna grow. Yay. Anyway, so I'm working on my business, which is where I help moms live a guilt-free life, and working moms, stay-at-home moms, any mom. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. That's just who I am. Part of who I am.
That's part of who you are. That's one lane of your life. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so most of what we're going to talk about today is a big part of who I am in Virginia is like a transplant. Mm-hmm. So I came here from upstate New York, and I found that there's actually a lot of transplants in Virginia.
Yep.
And so I'm going to talk about raising your kids kind of like away from family.
And you know what? I'm glad you described like kind of your business and things like that, because what I'm finding with talking to people is I love finding the thread that they have throughout their life, business, professional. I think that's the thing I love. Yes. And so for you, it's like that calmness. So we talked about with your business, wanting to find women, you said it before, a guilt-free life.
Yes.
And to find the peace, because this is especially parenting, if you're in that stage of life, that's a chaotic
It's very chaotic.
stage. And what I love too is that even if you're not a parent or you're not in that stage, you're getting a window into someone else's experience, mm-hmm. or two, the tips can translate to your area of life, because everyone has chaos. And so being around someone who wants that peace, that for me is like, yes.
Absolutely. Because I think, I was talking to my cousin about this, just that the chaos of life, mm-hmm. It is so, I was calling myself and just a lot of the moms I know who've moved the new pioneer woman.
Ooh.
Because you've moved away from your family, you've moved away from your support, you have to make new friends, mm-hmm. you have to find, just childcare. You have to find
everything.
Your everything, mm-hmm. in a place where you have nothing.
Yep.
And so it's like the new pioneer woman.
It's so true.
And so, where was I going with that?
So you've experienced change. So you moved, when you moved from New York to Virginia.
Yeah.
Were you single, dating, married?
So
kids?
My husband and I were actually like high school sweethearts.
Oh, how sweet.
I know. When we actually started dating, he had just graduated, but still we were like, we lived 3 miles away from each other.
Oh, sweet.
So so anyway, we moved to Virginia because he had an internship that turned into a job, mm-hmm. right after college. And he had also proposed, because I was like, I am not just going to follow a boyfriend.
Yes, girl.
Yes. Gotta put a ring on that.
Put those boundaries in place.
Yes. I did. And it was good. And so when we moved here, we were, it was like, starting new, like right from college, new job and everything. And I didn't have a job. So I had to find a job and everything, which was fine. But the job I found was tutoring. I worked as an independent contractor. Yeah. So I didn't really have coworkers. I didn't have a way to go out and meet people. And what's funny is our networking group is where I made my core friendships that I've had now for years.
And this is perfect because the episode right before this, episode 6, was all about friendship, because I talked with my best friend about, we met as kids, and that's, it's like when you're a kid and you spend so much time together. Yeah. But as you grow up, and making friendships changes, because how do you meet people? And so it's so funny how you kind of had that same experience where, you came here and it's like, oh, this is different. I'm not just going to like be in class with someone, or
you're not going to be in proximity. There's like this whole psychological thing of a lot of your friendships that you have built are because of proximity. Yes. And it is so interesting, and that you're not choosing them when you're in high school and all that stuff. Yes. And then when you're an adult, you have to choose them. And you're like, what the heck am I going to do?
It's so funny you said proximity, because I had written this blog post before, and it was about like church shopping, which is something I never did growing up. Yeah. But one of my tips was sit in the same place, because the proximity of the people around you, it builds familiarity. Yeah. So if you're if you feel uncomfortable introducing yourself, which people assume because I'm an extrovert that I have no problem talking to people, but actually I have no problem talking to people once I break the ice with them. Yes. And so for me, it was like, so whether it's that networking, it's the same thing with networking groups. Like, yes, you should switch your seats up to like meet new people, but there's also that familiarity of, you sit next to the same person for so long, eventually you kind of break the ice. And
it's true. It's like you can count on you being there in that spot. Like that's Samantha's spot. And it's like, and then actually,
but then you have to bust it though. Like it's the initial like to kind of build, but then like you said, it's okay, well now let's find my people. Like I've kind of gotten into my comfort zone. Now break out of the comfort zone. Yes, so exactly. I guess for me, I can break out of my comfort zone once I get into a comfort zone. Does that make sense?
It is. Yeah. Because you're like sussing it out. Yeah. You're like, okay, now I'm here. Now everyone knows where I'm consistent. And now I'm going to shake it up.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's like my life.
Yes.
Oh, so yes. So we talked. So with proximity. So now when you moved here.
So I had to like
change it all.
I had to change it all. I had to figure out how to make friends. And I mean, I had moved schools as a kid, actually frequently enough that I knew how to make friends and all that stuff. But when you're an adult and you like approach someone, because it's kind of like, hi, I like you, I think. Can I have your number?
I equated it on the last episode to dating. It's like dating. You're like, hey, do you want to get together? Should we have lunch and network? And then it's like, do you want to get just regular dinner?
Right? Exactly. Like, just like, we don't even have to talk about business. Yeah. Like, is this okay? Like, and
take it to the next level.
Right? Oh my gosh. And it's hard because like, I think out of college, I don't know, like, you're going to it was hard. It was like, I had some anxiety and I was like, I just didn't know. And basically what it was exposure. I had to keep showing up to the networking groups, keep exposing myself, and just turning those acquaintances and those conversations into more. And it's like, you can't just expect something to happen overnight. Like I'm going to say I was talking to my sister and she was like, well, if I don't instantly connect with someone, then I can't be friends with them. And I'm thinking, well, one, you still live in your hometown where you have these friendships that you have and you're like, that you've built so strong that like, you have to realize that when you take that away, you gotta start from a very kind of shallow, and it's like you have to have that instant connection of like, okay, I like this person, but you gotta get in there.
But there's also what I love about the different personalities is like the way you click with people. You might click with someone in one way because you have similar personality traits, but there might be someone that you don't click with on that personality level, but it's almost like your souls or, whatever, however you want to describe it. You're just like, we're the same person.
Yes.
So, which is like introverts. That's why I say like so many introverts,
you just like, find connecting. Yeah. Like, you're like a perfect complement. It's like in math, it's like a plus and a minus.
Boom.
Anyway.
Done. Love it. So you're ready to move.
Yeah, ready to move.
So you're going to do this all over again. So this is good. You've been reflecting on.
Oh, so much reflection. All this. Oh my gosh. It's crazy because like everyone's like, oh my gosh, are you nervous or whatever? And I'm like, No, it's a new adventure. Like, one, I've made really good friendships here, but two, now there's like, I mean, this is not a plug, but, well, I don't know. Marco Polo is an app that I use. It's a voice messaging app.
Oh, yes.
And you can and I know that's how I'm going to keep my friendships alive. And I know that's how I'm going to be able to continue.
How does that work? Just in case some people haven't heard of
Sure.
it. So even though we're not getting paid for this is
Yes.
not a sponsorship or.
But Marco Polo, if you listen, you should sponsor this podcast.
Please. I would love that.
Yes. So basically you're talking to your phone and like you're like leaving a message like, and it's and then think of it like your own little like YouTube of videos like of the messages you left. So you can leave a message. Video messages.
Wow.
And it just says, the person gets a notification that you're talking to them and they can watch it whenever they want to. And then they can watch it and then they record a message back. So it's
cool.
Great because I can do it on my time.
Yes.
And I can do it, when the kids aren't pulling my hair out and like, cause like if you're trying to sync up a phone call, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm like, never's a good time.
Yeah. So my friend Kath, who we did the episode with, we used to talk all the time when the kids were little and they were in the car seats and, we would just drive somewhere and we'd talk on the phone, safe, hands-free.
Yep.
But then they started talking to us and wanting our attention.
Yes.
And suddenly, my daughter was not a chatter, and I didn't realize how much of a non-chatter she was till my son came along. So like Kath and I got like an extra year of talk time because then when my son came up, he was talking to me all the time. So then I would like call her because it was like, oh, this is our time to catch up. Yes. And then I would hear like, mom. And then I was like, okay, I'm trying to be a good mom. I don't want to like totally neglect my child.
Right.
And so I'd have to, so it just changed. I was like, oh my gosh, this was our time. And so then it was like a few years of not, being able to have that talk time. And then until now they're like, Ma, I don't want to talk. My daughter would literally be like, Riley, I'd say, do you want to, we'd drive to dance and I'd say, honey, do you want to talk about your day? Listen to music or just sit out look out the window and something. I forgot what I said. And she'd be like, look out the window. I'm like, oh my gosh. You are my child, but you're definitely your father.
Yes.
And then my son, on the other hand, is like, let's talk about the clouds, just whatever we looked at. So it's so funny.
Yes. By the way, when it's crazy how different your kids can be.
Yes.
Just a side note, my Charlotte is like night and Grace is day. Like they're
But
so
that's a
different.
Gift because
yes,
or at least I feel that way with mine because it's like where one stresses me out, I'm like, oh, thank goodness the other one doesn't. And vice versa.
Oh, I totally agree.
So I love that Marco Polo app. Thank you for sharing that because I did not know. I know about Voxer, which is like a voice.
Yep.
Voice to voice, but I love the idea of video just because, facial expressions and connection. So
it gets you so much more comfortable. Like I'm ready to do Facebook Lives now. I'm going to start a YouTube channel and I'm going to do it all.
Idea.
Yeah. And it's like I've had so much exposure doing the video with the Marco Polo that I'm like, I'm comfortable now. I'm comfortable seeing my face. I'm comfortable with
we might have to Marco Polo then so I can get comfortable with that.
I would love to.
I'm working out this whole talking and having to listen to myself say words like stuff and cool and like.
It's
so
like
I'll have to work on the video part.
Yes, you just gotta it's like exposure therapy.
Yes,
just keep it going and you gotta accept yourself through it. And that's the hard part.
I'm gonna do I think another episode on exposure therapy.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's a good one.
Everyone I need to work on that.
Yes.
Okay, so let's
Yes.
jump into some of
Okay. Yeah.
You are getting ready to move.
Yes.
And so this is on your mind. And so
right. Okay. So basically I wanted to say I had a very just completely naive view of motherhood and children. And so, we moved here.
It's so easy before you have kids, like,
yes.
So this is what you're going to do and that's how it's going to work. And if people just did it that way.
I know. Why don't they get it? Yeah. Like, never mind that your children have free wills.
Yes.
Like,
and their own personality. Right. And they're not just a direct reflection of us.
Yes. I know. Why can't they be exactly like us? Mm-hmm. Although, okay.
Us as an adult,
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I had a hard time. So I had so Grace is only just over 2. And but she was a firecracker from the start. She was, and so raising, like, she would cry if her response to any need was crying. So hungry, whatever,
sounds
wanting
familiar.
something. And it was exhausting. And like, so I so I went back to work after I had her, and shortly after that, my husband had his appendix out, and and I found myself like, and I ended up, so I had to, my mom, she was helping my sister a lot with her daughter, and she was really tired, and I found myself like severely guilt tripping her to come up and help me.
Because you had no support
nobody,
here.
And I was like so bitter about that because I grew up next door to my grandmother. And, but then, so from upstate New York, there's just not an economy that you're not going to have that lifestyle per se if you want to have like a successful, wonderful job. Well, you can if you're like a nurse or like a professor, but
there's
anyway,
limited opportunities.
Opportunity. Yeah. And, so I just remember having Grace and having so many struggles, like one right after the other, because after my husband's appendix went out, then his father got sick. He had to go to his father, and I was alone with Grace again. And then we both got the flu, and that was the year that the flu was weird. It wasn't like puking and whatever. It was like the high fever.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Cold,
Yeah,
or it was like that funny flu,
like a long fever.
Yes, it was like I had a fever, I think, for about 2.5 months.
Yeah,
no joke. But we had both spiked when he was gone. So then again, I called my parents. I guilt tripped them. I'm making what I noticed I was doing was I was making my problems their problems, and I was projecting because I was like, I'm all alone. This is so hard. Like it was almost like why didn't you tell me? Why? Like not really.
But like, why didn't you tell me? It's like one,
yes.
Either just because you can't know until you go through it, or when people say it, you kind of like, well, that's not going to be me,
right?
That's not going to be my experience,
exactly. And like,
until it is.
Grace she's the sickest child. It makes me so sad. But I mean, she's like health. She just gets everything.
Yeah.
She's just like, I don't know what it is. And Charlotte goes to the same daycare, and Charlotte's fine. So, but anyway, so then I have Charlotte, and so anyway, so basically what happened was I was starting to get very bitter. I had these expectations of how my life was supposed to be, and my life was not that. And I had to pretty much mourn. I had to go through a phase where I was mourning the change in my reality.
Yes, that's good.
And it was hard. I had to let my idea of what my life was going to be go and accept what my life was.
Yes.
And so the whole process of that, there was like a whole process. So and this is where my nuggets come in.
Yay,
my little helpful tidbits.
Because I love that you said that about the mourning of the loss, because I think that so many, I'll say women just because that's who I talk to about parenting, but I think it's true for men too, because, we all are guilty of having expectations. And I read a quote, and I'm going to mess it up, but it's something like expectations are resentments, like waiting to happen or something like that.
Right.
But I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's so true. Like with marriage, one of the best marriage tips we got was it's all about expectations. And if you share your expectations.
Yes.
And so it's like, yes, that's like a whole other podcast. But with parenting too, it's like, you expect, I remember like going, thinking like, oh, this kid is a reflection of me and it's going to show what a good parent I am. And then they don't do the things you want because, as you said, they have free will and they're a person.
Yes.
And you have to kind of like, go through that. And I think accepting that, like, I need to kind of let go of these expectations so that I can enjoy and accept where I am now,
Exactly. That's absolutely what it is. And that's, for me, that's like, it's taken, since my daughter was born, it's still
She's
going
only 2.
on.
You're doing really good. I think there's people who have adult children that could relate and say, I need to do that too,
It's,
and I'm still working on it. I don't think
ongoing.
it goes away. That's why it goes back to the
agree.
tools that Jacqueline and I talked about. Like everything's about tools. And you just need to get the tools so that when something creeps up as our kids, because, you're a little bit behind me as far as stages, but then my kids are still, elementary school. And so it's like when they're teenagers and
Everything
then even adults, like, I think you're just always, I think the quicker you can learn the lesson of, I'm just experiencing that discomfort between expectation versus reality.
Yes.
And so the sooner we work that out, it's like, okay, this is happening. I recognize these feelings.
Yeah.
I've got the tools. So
absolutely. And it's like, and then you get happier because when you take those expectations away, everyone's talking about, it's like the new fad, like living in the present moment.
Yes.
All that stuff. But it's true. It's like, it's like when you take the expectations away, you can see it for what it is instead of for what the lens that you want to see it through, you know? Yeah.
I love that. And I love that with living in the like when we say things like we need to be mindful and you need to enjoy this, that takes work. Like you need to practice that. You need to practice, that's, I said, that's why I love, okay, this feeling that's bubbling up in me, this is what it is. So now this is what I need to do to combat that because just to say, enjoy. I mean, I remember I read a blog post when my kids were really little and it just spoke to me. It was the, don't tell me to enjoy every moment. Because I felt like I am I'm in the weeds 100%. Here. Don't get me wrong. I love my kids, but it is hard. And when people are just like, enjoy every moment, you're like, I'm losing my mind.
You're like, I need a break. I need to put them in the other room for a minute and take a 5-minute deep breath.
5 minute, 5 hour, 5 day. Like I was,
gosh.
But so I think
totally understand.
Yeah. But so just having people tell you that you need to kind of, what are the things, how can I have this mind shift? So what are some ways we can have this shift?
Mind shift? Okay. So I'll say, this is my how I got through the morning process of my expectations changing and everything. So when I went back to work, there was a new hire, and so she and I both had. So her daughter was 7 months older than my daughter, so we had a lot in common.
Yeah.
And so my first nugget is to find a friend with common struggles, but also a common mindset.
Yeah. Oh, so perfect. Yes. Right? I love that.
Because for example, like say you if you don't have the common mindset, because we both wanted to have a positive mindset and find our happiness and power through. If you say I were to have a common friend who had the same struggles, but they just wanted to just be like, oh, this is just whatever, then you're not gonna get the benefits out of it, the recharge, the validation, and you're just gonna feel like, well, now what do we do? We're stuck. We need to get out of this stuckness.
Yeah. It's like finding that you want the validation of how you're feeling and you want the support.
Yes.
But then you also want the same end game, which is solutions or improvement and things like that.
Yes. And so basically, every morning when I would go to work, we would get our coffee and we would just kind of like hash out about our night before or whatever.
Decompress,
decompress and just share like all the stories of like our very beautiful, stubborn, screaming daughters that are just, like challenging every ounce of our being. And so, and honestly, I found that the compassion and the relatability, it was so healing because it was like, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy for having these other strange mother feelings. All the mothers out there, what these other strange feelings are of just like yeah, anyway.
And if you don't know that other people feel it, let this be the validation that you are not alone.
That you are not alone.
Yes, because that's the problem. Like if you don't find someone that you can share with, and even if they're not in the same stage, if they've recently been in the same stage,
I think
but find someone who gets it.
Yes, who gets it and because it's hilarious. Like I'm already like, and it's, you do forget, because I was thinking, because she's expecting her second now. And I was thinking, oh yeah, it is really hard in the beginning. And I'm like, but wasn't that hard? And I was like, no, it was so hard in the beginning. I was like, I can't forget, but I'm already forgetting.
So
because I'm already swept up.
And your kids are already still so young. So mine, I was talking to a friend and her kids are probably about 4 years behind my kids.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how hard it was and that her and her husband are kind of, snapping at each other a lot. And I found myself listening and I was compassionate.
Yes.
But in the inside of my brain, I remember thinking, oh man, I'm so glad Jeremy and I don't fight like this that much. And, we really don't fight too much. And then as I was driving home, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my gosh, when our kids were that age, we were stressed all the time.
To the max.
And it's just like, but as I'm talking to her, like I said, I was I was I can't think of the right word. Like I was compassionate.
Understanding her situation. And,
but internally it was still that like, well, I'm not there. And then just, oh my gosh, yes, you were there, but
right
you forget.
There.
And you get this like rose-colored glasses. You only remember the huge things. You don't remember the daily struggle.
Yes.
And I felt like that was a gift that I was reminded of that. Cause I'm like, what a jerk. Like, even though I don't think it I don't think I conveyed that, but just that it was like that internal little,
inside of like, I get it, but
I get it, but no, I get it. Like,
yes.
Oh my, and it gets better. That's why I always want to tell people, like, if you have your kids especially close together, it gets better. Like, it's so hard.
It is
so hard.
And it's so funny. It's like it exponentially gets better, as they grow, which is good. And yeah, I'll give it to the tensions.
Yes, it's hard.
It is. Oh,
and that's why communication and all those, it's once again the tools.
Yes.
So if you practice hey, this is my expectation, practice the communication. What I have found, this is just my own thing, practice the communication in that stage, but don't expect perfection. Because I always want it like, well, hello, we're doing this communication thing. Why, why are we still having problems? Why
isn't there instantaneous results?
Yes. Why do we keep having the same, issue over and over? Because you have kids and you're in the weeds. Like,
you're in survival mode.
Yes. So keep communicating, keep working on it.
Yep.
But and then one day you'll wake up and you'll be having a conversation with someone and be like, oh, we really don't fight that much. Yeah. We don't have any tension.
Exactly.
It comes back.
It's so it's amazing. It's amazing how much can change in so little time.
But I love that. So finding someone who relates, but is the same mindset. Same. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's just so healing.
And if you don't have that mindset, find someone whose mindset you want to have.
Yes.
If you're struggling, find the person who do you notice that when you talk, they
make you feel better.
Yes.
Or they make you
walk away feeling good.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like there's like a couple bits to that recipe is just the similarness, like the understanding, but then the validation of the feelings. You have to validate, because the feelings that you're having, if someone were to be like, oh, I'm sorry, like whatever, it's just, it takes so much away from the complexities that there is to just motherhood, to like all of to just that whole sandwich of the motherhood expectation sandwich. You really need a lot to get through that, because, and I mean, I'm just saying, women have so many hormones thrown at them, like every 5 seconds.
Yes.
Like the fact that we are keeping it together most of the time.
I know.
It's like a freaking miracle.
It is.
And and so you just, you need the validation really gets you through.
Well, and I was listening to something and it was about shame. And I have always been a big believer in sharing those things, and I love that now I can read things about research that actually confirms it. And so I know I'm not, I don't know, speaking things that aren't true, but it talked about not everyone deserves to hear your story, and you find the people who deserve it. So when you're in that, if you are struggling with something, it doesn't mean you share with everybody, but the way you find the people is how do they react when you do give those little nuggets, when you do share those little pieces of yourself. Is it, oh, that must be so hard for you, versus I hear you. Either I've been there or I haven't been there, but that makes so much sense what you're saying. Like, do they affirm your feelings? And so do you walk away feeling seen? Or do you walk away feeling worse?
Interesting.
And so for me, and like I said, these are things that I feel like I kind of didn't realize I was learning along the way.
Right.
And now to read it, it's like, oh, now I love this because it gives me the words to then share of, if you aren't feeling seen, if you share something about parenting, or marriage is a good example that I use too, is that, it's okay to talk about struggles, but with trusted people who have your best interest at heart.
Exactly.
And that they're going to lead the conversation forward versus just staying in the yuck. So
yes, exactly. Leading the conversation forward is huge. Okay. So the next little tidbit. Now, this one is hard, because this one it's so hard to tell a mom to spend some money.
Yes.
So hard. So basically what my next tidbit is put a price on peace of mind. And I was like thinking, how about think of it in the opposite way? Like, what is the lack of your peace of mind costing you? So for me, and then the price of peace of mind was, I was, how pregnant was I? Let me see. I think I was about 5 months pregnant, and at the time, Grace was like 30 pounds, and I was just reaching like the pain I was in every single day. I was reaching my breaking point.
Yes.
And my husband, there was always at least an hour or so or longer. Sometimes, some nights, he wouldn't even see Grace, but it's just the nature of life sometimes with work and everything. But that would mean that everything was on me, just getting Grace. And I know that sounds so, I don't know, but it's like after a full day's work, being pregnant and exhausted.
It's a lot.
It's so much.
Just showing up. I remember just saying something about like just being, just getting out of the house.
Yes.
And then it looks so easy to people, and they have it on Facebook and Instagram. And it's like, for me, I was like, just showing up, like going somewhere is so hard.
It was so hard. It's so hard. It takes so much out of you.
And just showing up in my house, not even going anywhere. Just making it through the day.
Yep. I have
so hard.
Another friend who's like, my kids survived today. Okay, we're good. Like that, you know what we want.
That was my only expectation for many, many days.
Yes.
Was just getting through the day.
Just getting through the day. And honestly, power to everyone. Just get through the day if you need to. Like that's it. Because that's kind of like the same here. But so basically what had happened, I was really just getting through the days. And I mean, Grace was at this point of just screaming, miserable. I was at a breaking point. So I ended up going on care.com and it was through a serendipitous whatever that I found a babysitter who lived in the housing development right in, I guess it's technically in front of my house. So she was like 0.2 miles away.
So awesome.
She was in high school. She was trying to earn money for college. And so I just needed that from 5:30 to 6:30, some extra help. So I could literally walk into the other room and either make dinner or do some dishes. And then Grace was still getting that engagement. And at the time Grace was just really emotionally high maintenance. Which is okay. It's good. I mean, that's just who she is.
That's who she is. But you recognized that you needed something, and it's okay that you recognized that I needed and to take action on it, not beat yourself up.
Exactly. So where I'm saying like the price on peace of mind. So that for me, so I'll just disclose. I said $10 an hour because I'm home. It's only an hour. And, if you need to flake on me, you can, but the help is awesome. So it was $10 an evening just to get that. And, there's some moms out there. I'm just going to say Starbucks coffee is overpriced, and a lot of moms get Starbucks coffee. And I'm like, if you can get a Starbucks coffee, go on care.com and get a sitter for an hour and get your brain back. And
if you have a mommy's helper, which is if you have someone who's their child is not ready to babysit, that is the perfect one, because for $5 an hour, $4 an hour. I mean, I don't know. Hopefully we don't get in trouble for taxes or anything, but they're the ones, you're home and you just need someone to help engage. That's where, and then they're getting practice it's a win-win because they get the practice and the confidence for the babysitting. And I used to do that as a kid, except I don't even think I got paid because I just loved kids. And I remember saying, can I just come play with your baby? And now I look back, I'm like, I thought I was coming out ahead.
Yeah. You were the gift. Oh my gosh.
So that's kind of, even if it's not money, I feel like there's ways, or you can swap with a friend or.
You can figure out ways to help each other out. Yeah. And I totally agree with that.
But I think identifying what is the thing that's causing you stress in your life.
Yes. And then just easing that tension a little bit, because hiring her on and doing that, I mean, she would come, at least one night a week, up to 4 nights a week. And it was just, I don't even know. I was getting back to myself again, because I just needed
it was the life preserver you needed for that stage.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's for me, I realized, so because just being I was with the kids a lot, and I needed, for us, it was putting money into babysitters, because I was a stay-at-home mom and, didn't have a lot of extra money, but for my own sanity, I needed to have that extra time. Yeah. And so that was mine. I might not spend money in one area where other people would, but it was that is where I need to kind of, I love my children, but I just needed
you need a break.
A break. Yeah.
We all need a break. We are all human, and our beautiful children are sweet little sweet vampires.
Sweet vampires. Yeah, they do drain our energy.
Yes, they're like, oh, let me just
Take
no.
that.
But they're amazing. I love my kids. Like, I mean, anyone, they're my whole
you don't,
life.
Yeah,
Every
you
mother.
don't need to apologize. I mean, this is why it's real talk, because I
Yes.
think that we have this pressure that we need to,
Mm-hmm.
everything's great, everything's good. We're lucky and blessed, but it's
Yeah.
refreshing when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. And that's why being able to have these kind of vulnerable conversations where I always tell people when if they have kids close together, or if they're in the weeds with the kids, my unsolicited advice, I know they might not ask for it, but I've started saying, if you're miserable for the first 2 years, especially so mine were 17 months apart. And so my son, who came second, so I said, if you're miserable for the next 2 years, it's totally normal. And I know you might be thinking I'm crazy now, but I just want to plant that seed so that if you feel that way, you're not alone, and that it gets better. And believe me, I'm happy. Like, I looked back at pictures from some of our road trips, because we went to South Dakota a lot. Yeah. And there was a picture of me. Oh, it was actually when I announced that I was pregnant with Connor. And so I'm pregnant. I have my toddler, not even toddler. I think I had like a 10-month-old, 11-month-old on my hip. Yes. And I couldn't find a big sister shirt. I'm like, why can't I find a big sister shirt in a 12-month size? And,
yes.
They're not that common. They're all like 2T. So, I'm announced. So I remember, the picture popped up on Facebook. And when I saw it, I had all these warm, happy feelings like, oh, I remember when Riley's that age. Yeah. And so the initial feelings were, it kind of goes back to how we forget. The initial feelings were happiness. And that was so great. And then when I kind of let myself go back a little further emotionally, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so hard. I remember driving around. I'm trying to get the freaking t-shirt because I want to have the picture for the cute memory, and she's crying, and in the picture it's like the best one. It's like her arms are in the air and it's a little blurry because that was the best picture, and all that there's like stress came back.
Oh my gosh, there's always like this, like, oh, nothing is working out how I want it to.
But then now like 5 years later I looked back and I was like, oh, that was so nice. Like, so it's like there's this tension of stress and good, and anyway, so that's why I just share with people, like, if you're in it, like I said, so I can look back, if I was talking to someone now, it would have been like, oh yeah, I got this. Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. I couldn't find a t-shirt for this. Is like
I know, right? Your brain puts like clouds it. So
I make it funny, and it's like, oh, it's so funny. I couldn't find a t-shirt for her. Well, like, the real story is I was freaking pissed. I'm driving around. I finally went to a thrift store and found something. I mean, it was just like,
you're like cursing to yourself under your breath.
Yes, but that's why my brain works, is even when I'm going through the stress and I'm mad, I'm kind of like putting a funny spin on it because that's my therapy.
Good. That is so good.
But it wasn't funny at the time. I was stressed and annoyed, and
exactly.
But it got better.
And I remember I was like, I totally agree. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with all of that, because it's in your brain. It just plays those tricks, and that's like how you end up having more children, because you just have all these tricks. It's like, no, you're fine. Don't worry about this.
So great.
Yeah, and then just the to add to that, I just remembered that when you're doing things like this, like, because when you're in those, like, you're just like frustrated, and you're just like saying all these curse words under your breath, like. If you are investing in something, like, take away that guilt of, you're not supposed to, you don't have to be with your kids all the time. If you're like, for you with the babysitting, and for me also, like, with the helper, it's like, if that makes you be a better mom in general, then you got to do it. Because then you're enjoying your kids in general. You're better. You've nurtured yourself. You have to nurture yourself as much as you nurture your children.
And I like that you said that if it makes you a better mom. That's kind of what I always go back to with, like, working moms versus stay-at-home moms, and breastfeeding versus this, and all those different choices that cause so much stress with moms. It's like, at the end of the day, what makes you the best mom you can be? Yep. Because you can't compare apples to oranges. Like, everyone's life is so different. So once again, the common theme is like, what makes you better,
Yes. Oh, and absolutely.
Lean into that, as long as it's healthy and safe.
True. Like, don't drink like 10 glasses of wine, even if you need them. Just kidding.
And if you do and have a problem, reach out to someone you love.
Yes, exactly. There's always help. Yes. Just kidding.
No, that's true. That's true.
Okay, so then the next thing is back to the tension between the spousal tension that comes with children. So, okay. So my next tidbit is, look at the biggest pain points in your life and do some self-reflection.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, convicting.
Oh, gosh.
Ooh, let's lean into that more.
Yes.
Except, Gretchen, you lean into that more.
I will. It's like, oh my God. It was, okay. So I'm thinking of a pivotal moment that was, my husband and I, we were home for the day, like working on our bathroom, or maybe it was the weekend and we had paid a sitter. So we redid our bathroom, like when I was pregnant with Charlotte, because
It's always a good time to redo a bathroom is when you're pregnant.
Well, actually we started it. We had a good 2 weeks before that we started the bathroom not pregnant. And then because we started it.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yay! Okay, anyways, everybody gets it. So then I got pregnant. I was like, oh, okay, we got this. So anyway, so I had so what happened? So my husband and I, we're high school sweethearts. We get each other. We love each other. Mm-hmm. But raising kids is hard. Yes. And we were just not syncing up. I was like, we are not even in the same book right now. Yep. We are like, and I'm not saying that we're not, everyone who knows us knows, like, we're not like yell fighters. Yeah. We're not big fighters. We're just like bicker, banter, like whatever, we're like, just, I don't know, like two old ladies fighting over going out to lunch being like, Marge, I don't know. Something.
I love it.
Anyway,
I think everyone who's married gets it.
Yes, I think right. It's just so
it's the tension of being a human being,
yes,
and another human being, and doing life together.
Right.
I mean, that's like there's always going to be that tension.
Always, and it was a lot though. It was constant for a while, and I just remember like that. So we had like a big talk one day, and I don't even know. It was like the most raw, visceral cry I had ever had because I realized that I was the problem. Oh God. Okay. So what the problem is that I'm a pusher, which is like, I like to take good things and make them great. Like I love to I'm like, ooh, shiny object. I can make it shine 10 times more. Let me show you how.
Ooh, yeah.
That's my personality. Always has been.
One of those things that it could be very good, but it could be dangerous.
It could be dangerous.
Yes.
And it got to the danger zone for a couple of years. So we moved here, rewind to college. And every time, so Pat, he's a software engineer who can talk to people, which is a good combination for doing well at work.
Yeah.
So every time he did well, I was always like, that's great. And then okay, so now what's next?
What's next? We can't spend too much time celebrating that. We got to look at what's
Keep
next.
Going, looking at what's next. So I was pushing him a lot. And he, at the same time, and the way our relationship is and stuff, we push each other. We help, we motivate each other. Yep. We've always helped each other level up. So there's ways where I wasn't seeing he was fine with it in a lot of ways. Yeah. And then but then I guess there was just there's just a point. Everyone has a point, and it's when is it enough? When am I enough? And I didn't know that's how it was going, where it was going. So anyways, I had to I don't know how I got to that self-reflection point, but I just remember it was I'm saying think of a freight train coming and running into you of reality check. Yes. Oh my God.
I love that analogy because I feel like that happens often.
Yes.
I said a load of bricks, freight train.
Yes.
The common theme is it hits you hard.
Really hard. Yes. And you're like, oh my God. And then it was because you never want to think, when you're always mad about something, you should do this, you should do that, blah, blah, blah. You're always mad. You never want to think, oh shoot, should I do something? Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
The common denominator.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, so I think at the time what I was doing when I got to that self-reflection point was I had found so I do a lot of watching TED Talks and all that stuff. And for some reason it went down this spiral of this, I don't know, whatever. It was a person, I'm gonna say guru, but I have absolutely no idea.
Okay.
So, but they were just talking about all these pieces of yourself. And I mean, it's all the same message across all these things, just understanding you and my brain. But anyways, it was getting me into that mindset of thinking, what the problems of my life, listen to where it's resonating within me. What is it, and then we had that conversation. And anyway, so that's how I got there. But whenever you're having a big pain point and it's constant, my biggest nugget is look within. And then
that could be hard to hear.
It is,
but
so
it's
hard.
True. I mean, it's kind of, and I've been saying to my kids lately, trying to give them the tools. It's like, we can't change other people. We can only change ourselves. And so kind of working through.
Absolutely. That. And the funny thing is like, once you start to change, the way you treat the person changes, and the way you treat the person, because that's changing, they're going to change, because now they're feeling like, oh my gosh, she's not going to freak out at me every 5 minutes, because I was in a dark place.
I was there too, girl. And
yeah,
it's funny. I always tell this story, and sometimes when women hear it, they get like, "Oh, weren't you mad?" But I remember being, struggling mentally with stuff, or getting mad and kind of having those like fights with my husband.
Yeah.
And I remember one time he pointed out about that time of the month, like if it was around that time.
So true.
And when I tell women that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, how dare you?" And I'm like, you guys, it was like a saving grace. Because why? I love my husband. He's amazing. He's like the best guy in the whole world. But once in a while, he walks in a room, and just the sight of him,
right?
I just like, and I remember we were in the middle of like one of our conversations, because we're not big loud. But I remember he said something like, "I just feel like I can't do anything right." And in my head, thankfully, I said, "'Cause you can't." Oh. And then my brain was like, how can I think that? Like, he's awesome. Why do I feel to my core that he can't do anything right?
Yes.
And when he brought that up, I started tracking it on like a period tracker app. Sorry, guys, if you're listening. But holy moly. So now if I start to feel annoyed, like I just feel like we're not as connected. Like I just feel like we need to talk. If I start to feel those feelings, I check the app. And if it's within a week of my time, I just, whether I pray about it, I'm quiet about it, I center myself about it. But I'm like, okay, I think this is me, because I don't normally feel like, I mean, we of course go through ebbs and flows of connection because of life and things like that. But it's like, if I'm annoyed that like we're watching TV and you're not holding my hand or something, like, okay, I don't normally get upset about such things, like, but if I'm starting to feel annoyed that he's just not reaching out
6 inches further away from the couch.
Exactly. Why aren't you closer to me? And then with those feelings creep in, I check it. And if I do, I'm like, okay, this is hormones. And because I used to address it right away, because I'm a big communicator. So then what would happen is like once or twice a month, we'd get into this little thing of like, I just feel, I would go on about something that's like, holy crap. Thank you for like, I am not offended by that, because hormones are real. And
so real,
and
I gotta say, I'm going to just, ladies, it is hormones. If hormones can make a child, in the miracle of life, whatever, but if hormones can tell your body to make a child, the hormones can affect your mood. They can affect your mood.
It was freeing to me. You know what I mean? And like I said, he didn't throw that out as like an insult. It was like a genuine, like, hey, because he noticed. You only like kind of, we're only having these kind of fights once in a while. Like this doesn't feel like a real issue in our marriage.
Right. It's like, it's only bothering you. It's like lining up with the moon.
That's how he figured it out, because it was with the moon. And so we noticed that like every time the moon's this size, like she kind of gets a little,
It's like, yes, all of us women are werewolves.
Yes. No, and I know that's not going to be the issue for everyone.
Like,
and
going on a fantasy. Like,
I love it.
No, but right. It's not for everyone, but it's so funny. But for me,
it was convicting, and then that leads you down the path of other things. It's not always going to be hormone related. There's major things we need to work on, but I feel like that was one of the first things in my marriage, at least after kids, because I didn't notice it before, where it was like, oh,
yeah, and it takes the pressure off, because then you realize that's. Like, you realize that you do feel a lot more that way. So then you're like, okay, I know. I'm aware of where I'm at. And it's just funny, because a lot of my friends who, I don't know, we're in the good husbands, but sometimes we got a bitch club. Yeah. They all, like, we're happy in their marriage and stuff, but all of them are tracking them. They're tracking their
Yeah.
and it's so funny.
So I read something in a magazine years ago. It's called the Husband Pact. And you have the Husband Pact with your friends, which is you know that you guys love your spouses, you love each other's spouses appropriately, and and that if you say something, it's said in a place of love, and that they agree to love and understand and not hold it against.
Exactly. So
we had a little doggy join us, and it's so cute. So I have to get a picture, so we'll post that. All right. So what's your next? So I love that about. Yes, it's convicting. It's hard to hear, and we're talking very lighthearted about it.
Right.
But this is kind of, like you said, this is like the real
stuff.
Digging deep. And
it is. Okay, so the last thing I really have is just put the systems in place to keep the mindset. So, like, for me, it's like life is ever changing. You can, honestly, motherhood is a universal connection. And I'm not, and you know what? Someday somebody needs to do a podcast on fatherhood. Yeah. Because
thank you. We
will. Same thing. Yes. I think that there should be a sister podcast to this because there's a whole same different boat. It's like, but we're going down the same river with the same weather and the same storms, but you know, anyways, but and
we're on the same team. That's the other thing. Team. Like you forget, like we are on the same team. Yes. We are not against each other.
Right. Like we are just both trying to survive. Let's get through this but also enjoy this.
Yeah, exactly. How to take it to the next level. So that's kind of what your last tip is, right? Because it's like, yes, we want that validation. Yes, it's like I say, it's always, if you're miserable, that's like, my
it's okay.
phase 1. But then phase 2 is, okay, let's not stay miserable. How can we
grow out of it?
Yes.
How can we grow through it, not stay in it, not get buried by it? That's the biggest thing, is growing through it, growing out of it. And so what I do is like, I try to check in with myself. And the way that I do that, honestly, is I've got some really good friends that I also check in with. And my one friend, I talk to her every single day, and we're just real with each other. And like, and the Marco Polo, I also like it because I can kind of watch back sometimes if I need to.
Yeah. Like to get a pep talk.
Well, to get a pep talk or to like really reflect and be like, I don't know. There's
watching yourself again or watching them again?
Both.
Oh,
so it just depends. Depends on
it's
the
like
conversation
a diary.
had.
It's almost like a diary.
It is like a diary. It's amazing. It's a nice self-reflective thing. And so anyway, so then I'm like, oh my gosh, you know what? Even if I don't want to, I'm pushing play on this awesome audiobook that's going to make me change my mindset, even though I'm pissed off right now. And then I'm just pushing play and I'm doing the dishes and then I'm like listening and I'm like,
starts to slowly creep
in. And like, it's like, cause sometimes you have to make yourself, because it's like, and then sometimes I want to just watch my organizing cleaning moms instead of like a TED talk or whatever on YouTube.
Or I want to watch like a Netflix show.
Right. Or
I
just want to
watch a Netflix show, but I know that that's not always going to get me out of where I'm at.
Exactly. Like my thing is like, if it's after 6, it's going to be whatever. I can watch whatever the heck I want to. Mindset. But if it's like during the day, I'm like, I got to keep growing. I don't know. It's like, cause you know what I mean? Cause it's like, we all need to relax.
Yeah.
But,
but that's a nice boundaries. Like to kind of say, okay, I'm going to force myself. Cause when you're not feeling positive, it's great. You know, we talk about this, Jacqueline, that like, it's lovely, but you don't know, when you're not feeling great, you're not like, I just want to put positivity in my life, but sometimes you do just have to say, okay, this is the boundary I'm putting into place, and so I need to follow through with it.
And that is because I used to have a problem where like, I don't know what it was, but like, especially before Team Win, and like, if I'm like, have to be somewhere and I get nervous or I don't know whatever, I'll watch like a spy movie. And it's like during the day and like in the morning, and I'm like, I don't know I have like an action movie.
Yeah? Like, to like hype you up?
No, it's just like, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to distract myself. Like,
that's so funny.
And it's like, I don't know what it is. So then I'm like watching, and then I like lose track of time, and then I'm like, and then I get mad at myself. And then, so that's where you got to set that boundary. Because then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this just because I'm feeling one way and I want to distract myself.
But you recognized it. So you did it.
Yeah.
You went through the motions, and then you kind of did that self-reflecting of, what am I doing? And then you realized, I'm distracting myself. And
yeah. Oh yeah. We get into that phase of distraction all the time. And especially if you just can't compute and you just constantly just want to check out, then there's something you got to think about. There's something you got to think about there because, it's good to check out, but not all the time.
Yeah. And so that's also a time where like, we give these plugs, we talked about friendship in the last episode and positivity before that. And today, all these systems, if you do these things and you're still not in a good place, it's okay to seek extra help, whether it's therapy, medication, things like that. Like,
yes,
I
absolutely.
love having the conversations and kind of, you know, just kind of going through things that have worked for us and stuff. But things that have worked too is therapy and medication. Those are like things for people. I mean, that's actually, we could do a whole podcast on alternative things that also help, you know,
right.
Epsom salt baths and oils. And I mean, I know there's so many things that help, but kind of like to bring that up too.
Absolutely. Because like, I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like, you know, I'm the biggest proponent of that. If therapy is needed, you got to do it. I did therapy once when I was in college. Yeah. Life-changing. And so but I think we're just getting to the point of like, if you first seek help on your own, and if you need more help, you got it, just seek help, get the help if you need help.
So what are some of the systems to kind of get us out of the survival miserable
so
if we're there,
if you're there? So for me, it is the just keeping that input that I'm putting in, choosing it, keeping it the positive stuff that's helping me grow. Also, just going to bed when my kids do and getting enough sleep. That's a big one too. Yeah. Nurturing the body, like. And
that's hard for so many parents because that's your only time, but
it's your me time.
And you think, I don't want to give up that me time, but that goes back to, is it truly helping you? Because your mind, you know, if you need the sleep.
Yeah. So. Especially if like you've gone several nights and you're just like going off of like 6 hours or 5 hours. Yeah. Like no matter who you are, you're not going to perform well. Your brain you're not even going to hear what people are telling you to do the same way when you're not getting enough sleep. Like,
and I've read that other people need different amounts of sleep.
Sure, you have to see what syncs with you.
But I agree with what you said, which is you need more. Like, whatever. Like, if you're not already on a good schedule, it's like, so if you only need 4 hours, if you kind of think you only need 4 hours of sleep, well, that's true. You might not need the 8 to 10 that they recommend.
Right.
But 6 would probably do you well. Like,
exactly.
Adding a little bit more to, like, come on.
Yes. And if you're like, you're just slipping in life and you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. It's sleep. It's, 99% of the time,
sleep,
it's just sleep. Just rest your body. Like give it, like plug yourself in, recharge.
Yes.
To the, I'm imagining we're a phone now. Okay. Just kidding.
It's okay. We're all there. I love analogies and metaphors. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Plug your charger in.
Yes, exactly. And so, I feel like that's it. But also just, the self-reflection is big. I mean, just honestly, once you know how to identify when, then you will have your own toolbox to pull from. And when it's just awareness is everything. And also following your cycle. And I know that's so silly, but it's true. And, and then
if you follow your cycle and it's not related, then boom, you know that. It's like trial and error and things like that. So
yes, exactly. Yeah. Especially if it's like out of sync. And, so that's about it. And
I love that.
I was just going to say, like, you had on your thing, like, what makes you unique or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like trying to put it in like one sentence, but like, so I was like, the way I was raised was like a Buddhist, hippie, Catholic, vegetarian who was raised to work for the wants and buy for the needs.
Aww.
And that was like...
Say that one more time slower.
Okay.
Because I love that.
A Buddhist, hippie, Catholic, vegetarian who was raised to work for the wants and buy for the needs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. What a fun collection.
Combo.
Yes. But that's why it's so that's why I love hearing from people. And we talked before, what I love about the podcast is just talking to people, like not just one niche or one because there's so much wisdom to glean from everyone. So
absolutely. I totally agree. I feel like, and everyone has just different pieces, and I don't know, there's such a connectedness. I know I'm going to sound like a hippie and everything, but like we're really, the more that we are all different leading our lives, the more we really are all connected.
That is Brene Brown's definition of spirituality, she said.
Oh my gosh.
Is like, it's she's like, it's not like taking the religion piece. It's it's a higher believing in a higher power and that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And so we kind of talked with Jacqueline and have some other kind of future podcast plans about how we might think about those things differently.
Yes.
But I think that common thread is we're all connected.
We're all connected. All leads to the same path.
Yeah.
Especially with that upbringing, I went to just a little tidbit.
Yeah.
So my grandmother was hardcore Italian Catholic. I don't know if you guys. I mean, like
I was
plastic
raised
on the
Catholic,
couches. Yeah. Like
I didn't know plastic on the couches was
it's an Italian thing.
Italian thing. I get that.
And then, but just like with the cleanliness next to godliness,
Oh, yeah.
we have to keep everything in pristine condition.
Yeah.
Catholic and like whatever. I was sinning if I stared at my husband out of wedlock, Anyway,
Yeah.
So she was on the one end of the extreme, but I absolutely love her.
Yeah.
And then my mom, being her daughter, went on the 70s end of like, all right, we're deadheads. I'm like a hippie. Here we go. So she was on the other end. I mean, I live next door to my grandma. So I had
influences from all of it.
Huge influences. And the thing I always remembered is just how similar what they were saying was. Everything was the same.
It's
and
fun.
It's just
neat
so,
you had that. It was all the child. I mean, I always go back to I love the childlike faith. Like that's just something for me. And that kind of gives me comfort when I start to get into my head of like just overthinking certain things with that. Like I just childlike faith. And so I feel like because you were as a child saw like, oh, there's a lot, we're more alike than we are different at the end
completely.
Of the day. So,
and yeah, my mom took us when we moved away from my grandmother, just because of work. We moved for work, but my mom took us to a different type of church.
Oh yeah, to expose you to different things.
And that was a very, very cool thing. I actually recommend that. I don't have my brain like Catholic, Protestant, Baptist, Buddhist, meditation groups, like everything.
To kind of see how everyone
does it, and it's just everyone has a good heart. Like it's like I look out in the world and you can get scared, or you can just see that everybody is really trying to
instead of the us versus them mentality.
Yeah.
And I think if there's pillars of your faith that are important, that's good and important and needed. And I feel like you have what
that's your core value.
Yeah, that's your core. So I feel like I'm kind of getting more comfortable with being like, okay, this is my core.
Yeah.
And I believe it and I want to share that, but I don't want to, we shouldn't be afraid to be with others and expose ourselves and learn from others too. I think
absolutely
this whole
everyone has it. I feel like like a society kind of did like a whole I don't know, and then but now I feel like society is embracing everybody. I don't know. I in my lens, my reality lens, that's what I choose to see.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
And that's why I appreciate you sharing today. And like I said, the common thread I see in you in your life, personal, professional, is wanting to get that peace.
Yes.
So, as the home business whisperer, working with women to find the calm with, your friendships, I think, and just with the tips you shared today, it's like, okay, let's address that we are in a craziness.
Yeah.
How can we kind of restore that peace? So thank you for sharing and opening up.
Thank you for having me. Oh my goodness.
So awesome.
This was amazing. I really appreciate it.
All right, Gretchen, and tell everyone how they can reach you because you are a wealth of knowledge and wisdom.
Thank you.
So how can everyone find you?
Just go to www.thehomebusinesswhisperer.com, and that's where you'll find my blog, how you can get in touch with me if you want some sort of consulting. I help like home businesses, and I also help you run your home like a business. And just check me out to learn more about what I do. My about page kind of sums it all up for you pretty good. And I do specifically, or not specifically, I work with moms a lot, but I really also love just, giving some one-off business advice.
Yeah, because you've done businesses and worked with businesses. So
ever since I graduated college, I've been in the entrepreneurial world.
Yes. Oh, that's great. Thanks, Gretchen.
Thank you.
I look forward to staying in touch on Marco Polo with you.
Yes.
Getting me out of my comfort zone.
I'm really excited. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think I've got your number. So
girl, I will get you my number.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And good luck with all of the big things you're going to be doing.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I always find, I agree, I always find that when something rattles you, that it's actually resonating with you. And it's like, oh, Gosh darn it. What
Say
the
that
heck?
again. When something
rattles you, it's resonating.
Oh, that's good.
Thank
You know
you.
what we forgot to also do?
What?
Book recommendations. Do you have any book recommendations?
Well,
if
right
you don't,
now-
that's okay.
The one I'm just listening to right now that I'm loving is hang on. It's really it's a common title. You Are a Badass.
Yes.
Yes.
You're the third person. Dawn recommended that. Jacqueline recommended it, and you're
Yes.
recommended
Yes,
it.
Yes.
literally the third time.
So,
And-
guys,
I feel like I need to read it.
yes,
but
we
it's
all need to
probably a
read
book
it.
for women. I don't know
There's-
if it is.
There's another.
Well,
so this one.
we can all benefit.
Oh
from
no,
I know.
It is. You can benefit from it. It's just read by the author who is a woman, so that's why a lot of women like it because it's in a woman's voice. But here's some books for men, and women. The Magic of Thinking Big. I like that one, and then From Good to Great.
From Good to Great, yeah.
That one is it's honestly a little bit of a dry read, but there's a lot of good nuggets in there.
Awesome.
And then the one I just started, I'm like I don't know, half hour into the Servant Leadership.
Yeah, servant leadership.
Yeah. And that one I'm okay. I don't know. This guy's just boasting a lot right now, so I got to get to the meat of it. Like how when they go back and they're like, and this book sold in $5 million worth of copies in 10 countries and whatever. And I'm just like, okay,
Yada yada.
when is it good? When is it a book worth? Just
Yeah.
kidding. But anyway, yeah. So those are the ones I've got on my list right now.
Perfect.
And but the You Are a Badass or whatever, that one is I'm mostly through it. I'm listening to it and I'm just like, I know you're telling me what I already know, but thanks for telling me again.
Well, and I love that you said that because I feel like with the podcast, with our episodes, like I feel like, okay, this is all, the point is like conversation.
Yes.
We could dive deep into every little nugget we talk about, but it's kind of one of those, okay, here's kind of just stuff to hear and then lean in, you figure out what to lean into. You know what I mean? So,
yes, I agree.
And then the last question after book recommendations is what conversation do you need to start or stop having?
Okay. Hang on. I got to think about this one a minute.
Yeah, that's
okay.
okay.
I was like, hang on. Oh, so I'm part of a whole bunch of moms groups on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And lately, a lot of moms are doing the woe is me post.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there, so I can't not be there. And they're looking for support, so they're doing the right thing. But I just sometimes, I guess the thing I don't like when people like straight up bad talk their spouses in public or with others without, like, I don't know, like, just, I mean, even if have addressed things with Patrick, like, I'll talk about him in ways, you know, but like, I will never put him down.
That's kind of the
other
disrespect
people.
thing we talked about before,
Yeah.
like kind of the lens,
Yeah.
you know, like how are you sharing, especially publicly.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm just, I guess, like, you know, and in these mom groups, I don't even know who these moms are. And I'll just read them and I'm just like, it just makes me, I'm just like, well, if you're that miserable in your life, you gotta change your life, girl. But I know, that's what I think in my head. But I'm just like, just tone down. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it bothers. I think in general, it's back to the whole gossip thing. But just talking bad about other people, it never sits well with me.
Yeah.
And it's always like, it's a disrespect thing, and then it's a full circle thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's
and it kind of goes back
I don't know.
to like,
I don't think it's happening a lot though.
yeah. It depends on the circle you're in though.
Yeah.
So that's a good reminder to see if we've been there. So.
Yeah. Cause I guess like, I don't know, there's probably a lot of other stuff, but like, I'm like, that's the one that bothers me.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah. And again, a lot of my friends don't, and I'm not really exposed to a lot of it. Okay. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. I'm not pointing anyone out.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, that's why I bring up the husband pact, because it's one of those, I know I've been guilty of, you know, saying things or talking about things I shouldn't, you know.
But
But I found that like, okay, this was kind of a mind shift that I feel like is a little different, and what I want to share with people is having that thought process.
Yeah. And I mean, like, cause I'll talk, I guess, like, yeah. In any way that I talk about Pat, like you said, I'll talk about him to his face.
Yeah.
And that's just a different, yeah. So there's just two different ways to do it, I guess.
But we can take advantage of working out some of our thoughts to figure out what's about me versus what is really, what do we need to address and what do I just need to address. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to work with a guy that a Oh, no, she has to pee.
Okay.
So I used to work with a guy, and he would, and it was obvious that he loved his wife and cared about her.
Yeah.
And would do anything for her.
Yeah.
But he would just say some, hateful things about her.
Yeah.
And every time he would say something like that, there's no response.
It doesn't sit well.
Like, we're having a conversation and then you just said that about your wife.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk to you anymore.
Right. That's exactly how I feel. And I don't have that, like, again, I don't have that with a lot of my friends or people, but I guess, like, that's my public service announcement is have respect for the person that you decided to spend the rest of your life with.
Right.
Like, yeah, maybe their feet stink sometimes. Maybe they take their socks off and all over the house and you find them and it bothers you. But you're not belittling who they are as a person when you're talking about that.
Right.
And you'll say it to their face.
Right.
I mean, my feet stink too. So we're
right.
okay.
And Samantha is so much more than pooped pants.
Yeah, exactly. My wife is beyond. She's way more than pooped pants. It's true, but
is that bad mouthing or did I just?
No,
she's not even in here.
No, because I don't think so. I mean, you guys are so cute.
We had
you two are like amazing.
5 cups of coffee each and like a bottle of water.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I was going to make it.
Yeah, I am so sorry. I know you both.
Oh no, it's okay.
It's funny.
I wanted to be like.
Yeah, I know. I should have because I could I could.
Oh, that was
sense
me
the
mouthing. Wrap it
antsiness.
up. I have to pee.
Yeah, I was sensing the antsiness because I was in my peripheral, and
For the
then I
people
was
that can't see what we're doing.
Yeah, and I was like, "Are we out of time? Okay, I'll wrap it up."
That coffee was no joke.
I know,
right?
Water and
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's good though.
And that's a wrap for now.
Thanks for listening to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle. Music provided by twinmusicom.org. Song titled Night at the Dance Hall. Sound editing by me, Jeremy Spittle. A special thanks to our studio sponsor, M&M Exteriors. Visit their website at mmexteriors.com for all of your roofing, siding, and gutter needs in the Northern Virginia area. Visit our website at flushingitout.com and be sure to subscribe. This has been a Spitfire production.
That was the greatest thing I've ever heard.